Welcome to Shout Radio. I am Robert Lee or Jr. I like saying it like that because that gives props to my old man, my father, rest in peace. And to my girl, Benita. Auset.
Hey, everybody.
You gotta say your name like that.
Right,
Benita.
right.
Auset.
Benita, Auset.
What's going on, my girl? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm so glad that we're on Spreaker and Spotify and iTunes and iHeart and whose other S's and then Google and I'll try to keep it. I go through the alphabet like we on A B C D.
You always remember Spotify. I never remember Spotify, but we are
Spreaker,
on Intellectual Radio.
Spreaker is actually one of my favorites. I love Spreaker.
Ray, I know you always talk about Spreaker and how good the audio is.
I like the audio version because I think people get distracted by the video.
Got you.
You know, like if I fix my hair,
Right.
or if I'm like
The
doing
lights
like
too
this, or if if I look like a white girl on the paying attention to that, I want you to listen. Or if I rub my eyes.
You know what? I watched that video that you posted.
Did I rub
too.
my eyes too much?
No, I'm just saying I watched that video you posted about the girl who was talking about her parents was
Okay.
Is that
remind me.
You the one posted it.
I know, but sometimes I forget.
I looked at the whole video too, like hour and 7 minutes. You better remember. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-oh.
Anyway, you can also catch the show on IntellectualRadio.com. IntellectualRadio.com. You can go on YouTube, subscribe to Intellectual Radio, and you'll be able to catch all the shows that come on Intellectual Radio. We've got over 80 shows here. And if you have a voice or if you want a platform that you can express yourself, call the number 708-223-8953. Again, the phone number is 708-223-8953. And Ms. Wanda B. Earl Winfrey will tell you about plus that's available to get yourself plugged in to Intellectual Radio. This world is missing you because you haven't set up your platform yet. Intellectual Radio. So do that. 708-223-8953. We have a very, very, very exciting guest in the building today. This is one of my favorites in the entire world. And I don't say that just because they're sitting here right now. John and Yuri Cruzat. They're talking about forgiveness, something we all need to have a different perspective on. So they are really committing their life to this mission. And y'all are really going to be in for a treat. Y'all sitting up there looking like, okay, forgiveness. Nah, y'all are going to be in for a treat for a couple that is committed to transparency, that is really going to give us something to think about. Really give us something to think about, because I don't want to forgive nobody. I ain't forgiving. I want to stay mad for two. No, I'm just talking stuff. I want to say happy birthday to my beautiful wife. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, sis.
You know what I'm saying? We went out, going out to dinner with your wife. That feel like a hustle to me. My wife be hustling me, man. She be hustling me, man, because she never eat her food at the restaurant. She always, leaning over like, baby, let me taste this. Can I taste that real quick? And, I be letting her taste the next thing, she going home with this big expensive doggy bag and I done ate all my food.
All your food's gone.
All my food gone and she eat it later. It's feel like a hustle. I got to learn that. I learned this time though, because what I did this time, I ate all of the bread. The bread that they give you, I ate all of the bread, so I was full too. I just tasted my love.
My godmother, she told me she used to do that all the time too. Before she got married, the guy would come over and visit her, and he would look in her refrigerator, and there would be all these like little doggy bag type things. It'd be all these styrofoam containers, and she said that's because she would go and she would fill up on bread. She was just like a grad student or something like that at the time. She was like a hungry person, and she would just save that food for later.
Right. Hey, all right, wait, we was sitting down and it's like they took too long to give us the bread. Hey, where our bread at, man? Ain't there supposed to be some courtesy bread over here?
Courtesy bread.
Ain't supposed to be some courtesy bread over here? I already got the butter in my pocket.
Right.
I already had the butter
just
in
in case they have enough nerve to bring you margarine, right? You don't want that. We want the real deal.
We want the real deal, but we had a fantastic time for our birthday. So I also want to give a shout out to my sister-in-law, Tanisha Orr. Her name is also Tanisha Orr. Ain't that
Stop
crazy?
Playing.
I know. I was so in love with my brother's wife.
Oh, okay.
His wife name is Tanisha.
Oh,
I was so fascinated with her personality, so I went and got my own Tanisha.
Okay.
I got my own Tanisha, So anyway, happy birthday. Her birthday is actually today. So her birthday is today. She is 30. You never say a woman's age. I mean, she's 35. You never say the age. I want to know that too. That's a question I got for the women today. The question is, why is Why is it? Why do women feel so uh, disrespectful, disrespected when it comes to you asking their birthday? I want to ask you that. Why do you think so many women feel?
Because you just
Because I'm
want to
46. You
you
see
want to
how easy
be
I yell it out. I'm
young
46.
and
Boom.
beautiful and sugar and spice and everything nice, and there's this thought or this image that if you age that you're not beautiful
Right.
anymore. But if women would, I guess women who don't mind so much, like women who appreciate age and as well as beauty, like
Yeah.
appreciate wisdom, then I don't think they care so much.
Right.
Like
You know.
like I don't care. I'll tell people
Mhm.
I'm younger than you, so it don't matter.
right.
I'm 45.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
confident and comfortable with my 45.
right.
And I always, guess what?
Well,
I will always be younger than you.
so you got the thing figured out.
Right, 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 right. No matter what happens.
I just think R. Kelly should ask.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think he should ask
I
how old
agree
people
with
are.
that.
You know what
Right,
I'm saying?
right, right.
I think he
He need
should
to
get a
check
pass to
driver's
be
license and
disrespectful.
everything. Right.
He should get a pass to be disrespectful to women. Like, how old are you? He should
Agreed.
get
I
that
agree with
pass.
that. I agree.
And just in case you missed it, the state of Illinois has passed recreational marijuana.
Oh, that's terrible.
And I seen in the newspaper this Monday in the Sun Times. Um, yeah, I'm gonna read them off to you. It was six things, six takeaways, so to speak, of recreational marijuana. So it's in January 13th edition of the Sun Times. So you can probably go online, or I know there ain't no papers sitting around there hanging around. But it was first of all, the demand for legal weed in Illinois is off the chart. They said this is completely people just, man, yeah, I don't know, it's just like my own subject or something. It's just like I'm just going out on a tangent.
No, listen, it's really important. I'm
Right.
sorry, I'm still messing with my Facebook. For
Okay.
those of y'all
Right.
who are watching and I apologize. I'm believe it or not, can do two things at once.
You
And
can't. No, women cannot multitask. Y'all can't multitask. Y'all
well,
think
this
y'all,
woman can.
y'all think y'all can.
So
Anyway, go
you were
ahead.
talking about weed. That's how I know we can
Yeah.
see. So you was talking about
No,
weed.
I was talking about marijuana. It's a difference. It's a big difference. Weed is like, that's illegal.
Okay, so
Weed is illegal.
you was
Okay.
talking about
Marijuana.
illegal substance,
Okay.
and I started thinking of all these things in my head that I wanted to respond when it was appropriate for me to respond.
Got you.
Okay, and you said that you wanted to go through a list of like six different things, so I'm interested in your list, and
I
I'll
always
share
like
my
it.
other stuff
It's stuff
later.
I like. See, you always say things that empower me. Like, you was going to respond when it was appropriate. I like that.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
My
because I know
chest
when
get bigger.
I know
Like,
when
okay,
I know when to be quiet. You know what I'm saying? I'm an empowered woman.
this
Look at
feels
my shirt. Look at
sarcastic.
my
That
shirt. This
really
is
feels sarcastic.
Black Panther ladies. You know what I'm saying? I know what I
Sister
know how.
Soldier.
Right.
Sister Soldier. Number two, customers don't mind the long waits in line to get inside the pot shops. They don't mind that. I just go through it real quick so we can get to the points. People are pleased with the shopping experience. These people, I mean, I guess they are. They're high. You know what I'm saying? they're high. Like, this is really nice. This is really nice. Did someone paint this black? Yeah, it's black. It's a black wall. uh, Number four, high prices and taxes haven't deterred shoppers. That's an interesting one. Number five, they're going through a bunch of supply issues. They can't keep up. They can't keep up with the supply and demand. And and then they say that and the police have not responded to any spike in DUIs. So I was looking at this and I was thinking, I was like, it's funny because California has had legal marijuana for years, but why is Illinois requiring the state ID get scanned? I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist in that way a little bit.
That was one of the things that I wanted to share. I was on Facebook. I heard this sister. She said, y'all need to be careful about this.
Mhm.
She said this the state owns the dispensaries.
Yeah.
The state also has access to your ID and your driver's license. They also have access to if they take your kids away with Child Protective Service, our Department of Children and Family Services. They also have access to if you need medical attention for any, the state has access to a lot. Or for instance, if you're on Medicaid or Medicare or something like that, that has access
Yeah.
to all this stuff. And so she was saying, y'all need to be careful. If something like, say you're driving and you get pulled over and you have children, and then you happen to be under the influence, they might decide, "Hey, we snatching everything now because we know we can look up. Oh, also they have access to your FOID card,
Yeah.
your conceal and
Yeah.
carry,
Yeah.
and then they can attach all of that and say, you know what, nope, 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 and just, or they can say, they have a gun, they got a FOID card, they have conceal and carry, they have children, they smoked 5 ounces of weed every week.
Wow, they really tracking it. They tracking it.
You know what?
That's deep.
We gonna snatch the kids
Mhm.
because they're not being good adults. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what that sister was saying. She was like, if you really, really into smoking like that, she was encouraging people not to shop at the dispensaries.
Stay illegal. Stay illegal path.
Right.
Keep the illegal
But
path.
listening to your list, though, I'm wondering if the state of Illinois has now wished that they had made it legal years ago. If they really rolling in it like that, like, are people buying it from them that much?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how they feel. I don't know how the state of Illinois feel, but I think the state of Illinois see opportunity. I mean, once you get a majority to legalize, anything, if you legalize prostitution, people gonna start positioning themselves to benefit from it. Automatically. And now this is why I like State's Attorney Kim Fox. Like, man, I like Kim Fox because Kim Fox she mess around and let them out. Everybody who got any kind of weed background
She
charges,
did.
she let them out. I like that.
She
Because
will or she did.
no, I don't know if she did.
No, I'm asking.
No, I'm saying she has been known to be lenient toward
Oh, okay.
those type of situations, is what I'm saying, and I think appropriately so, because in a certain sense, these people almost was like visionaries. They was telling you right off the back, and then and there's so many incidents and cases of medical marijuana being beneficial. You ever seen those videos and these people have Parkinson's, real bad? They be having these real shaky, and I'm not trying to, I don't know. I had a Trump moment when I was thinking about Trump talking about that reporter, so I don't want to emulate somebody with Parkinson's, but the guy was on there shaking real bad, just real bad, and
He was just shaking.
went through a whole process coming up, saying his wife was filming him, and he hit the weed, and he was steady shaking, he hit the weed, he was steady shaking, hit the weed, and he was just like,
And then
yes. And now what I'm trying to tell you is he just totally calmed down. It was like amazing. It was like amazing type of, like, I'm talking about 2 or 3 minutes. It wasn't like it took this long time. It was like almost instantaneous, and it just made me realize that now that it's legal, we could actually
there's
talk
a
about it in a
lot
more
of
open way.
right, and there's a lot of miracle stories like that.
Mhm.
Like, I remember some story. It was like something on YouTube, or I can't remember exactly the resource. Please don't judge me for not being able to recall.
Right.
However, the father had a child who just was so unable. She's 5 years old. She couldn't walk. She couldn't talk. She couldn't say dad. She couldn't say, there was like this long list of what she couldn't do. Couldn't eat. I mean, the list was long. And he was giving her medications. He had lined the medications up on it was like one of them 60 minute special type things.
I think I seen
He had
this.
lined all the medications up. It was like 25 medications every day. He said he finally was like, you know what? F it. Because this was way before it was legal. He gave her like a pill that had, a certain amount of non-TNH, just the cannabinoid type thing. I know I'm pronouncing wrong. I said it wrong. Say it right. Come on, because you laughed at me. Yeah.
No, I just laughed at you.
There's with the OID at the end of it. Come on now. How would you spell that? Pronounce that. Okay.
Don't be trying to call me out like,
all right.
I failed the same grade you failed.
Right.
You failed 4th grade.
Right. So anyway, it had the C word, CBD. Let's put it that way. Okay. Right. The initials. Anyway, when he gave his daughter that pill, all the medications, he could put them all in the garbage. There was only one medication she had to take in addition to that. He said, this is the first time I've heard my daughter say, Dad. Well, she could walk, she could talk, she could eat like a regular person. 5 years old.
That was
and all her life.
A married couple, right?
Yeah, I think they were married. White couple with a young girl. Yeah, yes, sir.
I seen that.
You saw that too?
Yeah, I think I seen that same. You must have posted it. You must have posted it. Everything you be talking about, I saw it because you must be posting it. I just forget where I see something.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting.
But there's a lot of. I mean, we could tell probably hundreds of stories like that when it comes to marijuana, because it's not a horrible drug. It's an herb. Like
it's not a drug,
Bob Marley, he's like, it's just an herb. I wish I could talk like Bob Marley, but anyway, he was like, it's an herb. It's just an herb. Like, why do people want to hurt you?
Well, we'll
over
ask
and
John
over?
when he come up because he works for urban dispensaries.
Okay.
You know. But anyway, we'll let him stop that.
Right. Let's get into
Let
it.
him
Let's,
tell you what's lying or not now. But anyway, on the other side of the break, we're gonna bring up our guests, John and Yuri Cruzat, and the call-in number is 708-223. If you have any comments or suggestions on the subjects that we brought up so far. Well, yeah, I want to hear from y'all. Like, why do women feel some type of way about asking you about their age? I'm just curious to know, with different perspectives. And women, y'all don't even know why. Y'all just like, hey, don't ask me my age. Y'all don't even know why, or any comments that you would have about the legalization of marijuana. And so on the other side of the break, you're listening to Shy Rise on Intellectual Radio. Welcome back to Shy Rise on Intellectual Radio. Welcome back to Shy Rise with Robert Lee Orr Jr. You got to remember, that's always in respect for my father. It's not because I'm so.
I just be playing when I say that. But what you trying to say? Are you trying to talk like a white person? No, I'm really just being funny. Like just.
Top special guests in the building. Y'all give it up for John and Yuri Cruzat. Man, what's going on? How y'all doing?
Look, it's so good to see you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It is 2020.
Y'all are one of the most fantastic couples that I've ever met in my life. And I really mean that. So I want y'all to very quickly tell everybody how y'all met, first of all, because I think y'all have a fascinating.
Oh, Lord.
The funny thing, I say, and we tell the story all the time, but the funny thing is I kind of met her. She didn't really meet me.
Oh, here we go.
We were at a conference.
Right.
I had just started as a diversity worker with the Olympic Training Center and went to Atlanta to a diversity conference, my first ever. And I was seated at the table that the company she then owned was sponsoring. It was a complete coincidence.
Coincidence, yeah.
And I knew a few people at the table, but I didn't know her. She walks in with this black dress on that looked like she was dipped in latex or something.
She still blushes.
It was a very tasteful dress, but it was a very well-fitting dress. Very accentuated dress. I was uncomfortably staring, and I could tell
Lord have mercy.
that she could tell, but her look to me was like, "Who are you, and why are you?
At this table? I don't know you."
So you don't know who this guy is.
That's how
That's
I
so
met
funny.
my queen, and the evening just seemed to evaporate into different conversations we had throughout the evening. I don't remember much else besides talking to her, and then reconnecting again in the lobby.
Well, he hired me.
Make sure he can see you again.
I was doing business. Well, I was doing future business.
Oh my God.
So, because as a woman in business too, you're also discerning. Okay, what is this? What you trying to do? Are you trying to roll up, or are you really trying to do some work? And he was a
Yes.
good brother, and he hired me to do some work and flew me out to Colorado at the time at the Olympic Training Center, and I was able to support him in some stuff that he was doing for, I guess, about 4 or 5 months, actually, back and forth between Chicago. He lived in Colorado, and this was in Atlanta, and I lived here, and it was his home city. And so his whole family was here. I had no idea. I'd never met any of his family. So anyway, we just kept on going back and forth for about 6 months. And
When did it occur to you that it was no longer business? Because it sounds like it was no longer business at Hello, but for him, but
that is a very distinctive
but for
moment.
you would
It
definitely.
happened during a phone call. I
Okay.
can tell you the exact moment.
oh my gosh, I
Wow.
forgot
That it
about that
happened
part.
kind of for both of us.
Okay.
We were just talking on the phone. And
Hold, I want you to hold that thought, John, on the other side of this break, because we got to take a quick break real quick. But just hold that thought right where you is at the moment when y'all met. Right? On the other side of the break, we'll describe that John finished describing. You listen to Shot Rize, Intellectual Radio.
What are you about to say?
Shout out my man Antonio Allen. Beautiful Tanisha, or my wife. Hey, what's up, beautiful? Tyson, what's up?
testing 1 2 3 3 2 1. 1 2 3 3 2 1.
I know, beautiful. They got the story.
Ladies and gentlemen, initialize sequence. You're tuned in to IntellectualRadio-Podcast.
Oh, welcome back to Shot Rise. Welcome back. We've just had to tweak a few little things, but it's okay. We was in the middle of John telling us a beautiful story about that moment. Benita asked him. You asked him.
I asked him a pretty personal question. So if it was inappropriate, just tell the people,
Some
we
of
don't
my
want to answer
favorite
that.
questions are inappropriate.
What is it okay about you?
What I was curious about was when she said it was not business. It was pleasure.
I threw out a feeler. We were just talking on the phone, and we were talking about some of our favorite foods or something, in the course of our business that evening.
Okay.
And she said that she really liked sushi. And I said, well, I do too. And, I found it to be maybe even an aphrodisiac for me. My whole mood changes. And it got really quiet. And I was going to let it hang. I was just going to let it get uncomfortable until she had to respond. I guess we won't be having sushi.
Oh my God! Man.
And that's when I knew it was love.
And I was like,
Oh my God!
no, he didn't.
What did he just did?
right, because you're still thinking business.
Right. But he called me. This was a text, actually. I think it was a text or call. And it was a text. And it was on a Saturday. We never talked on the weekends. Ever. So I was like, why am I even hearing from you? And so something just shifted for me. And I was like, And it was probably about 2 weeks later, it was your birthday. And he was coming into town, into Chicago. And he said, hey, come meet me. Now, mind you, all the times we had never been alone. It had never been one-on-one. It had always been in business, or I had met his family for some reason. We met at Sweet Maple Cafe. He's like, hey, come down and bring your kids and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, it's my business colleague, Didn't think anything of it. Girl, he invited me to come out to dinner for his birthday. And I kid you not, I said, are we going to be alone? And he said, no, my sister's coming, my cousin, my brother. I mean, it was everybody and their mama. And I remember feeling some kind of way.
Oh,
you just started realizing you was getting hustled, huh?
I was like,
you wanted to be alone.
I did.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
And I didn't even know that. And I was working so hard to make sure she never felt threatened or never felt like I was trying to make the moves I really wanted to make.
So y'all really moved. I want to use the word slow, but
super slow.
Yeah.
Super slow. And no. Me. She was clueless.
Because you were moving so slow.
Because I was moving so slow. And I'll tell you why.
I'm interested.
Because there were a lot of brothers in line ahead of me trying to get that attention. And I just was not trying to be in the pack. Right. So I said, well, maybe if I wait them out, that's a strategy. It was hard.
Whatever.
But it worked. I'm sitting here talking to you.
I was done with y'all. Let's be real clear what was really going on. I was done with y'all. And so it was just not on the radar. And it was actually refreshing to have a colleague. And I didn't feel like, there was no stuff in the game.
Right.
Exactly. But I do remember when he said, no, we're not going to be alone. I was like, oh, okay. I thought you were asking me out to dinner for your birthday. I was thinking, it was something else. Because of the aphrodisiac thing. I was like, okay, what's happening here?
That you body slammed.
Right. So I rolled up. I saw him. He actually found his way to the front of the old Braxton's. Remember that place? And in Oak Brook. And I literally walked into the restaurant. He was standing right there. And I kid you not. And I said, whoa.
You said, whoa?
To myself, whoa.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, I'm digging you.
All right.
She was definitely digging you when she looked at the text and you said the whole family's going to be there. And she was like, ouch. That's when she realized that she was like, "Well, I kind of like."
And
this
John
guy.
walked in there with like this, a fur blaze on, like these hippie wear. He always got these suede, the most fantastic looking.
My credit goes to my fashion consultant on all things.
When I say the word Malaysia,
that was another feeler.
Yeah.
That was another hook that I just threw out there. I happened to tell her about a conference that I was invited to speak at because we were doing such great learn to swim programs here in Chicago and across the country.
And this was a big deal, though.
This was a big deal. It became an Olympic movement, and so to the degree that the World Sport Congress wanted to hear what we were doing, so they flew me to Malaysia. Well, before that happened, I happened to mention it to Yuri, and I also said, "Would you like to join me?"
Hold on. Is this before you guys became a couple? Okay.
No, this was after the coupling, the technical coupling. Nothing had happened because we were geographically separated, but it's like we knew it was not just business.
But this was your first official date.
We hadn't seen each other.
Date.
That was the date.
That was the date.
Wow.
She met me in Malaysia.
So you invited her to Malaysia for your first date.
And we spent a week there.
About 8 days together.
With the Prince of Malaysia and the entire court. And see,
the whole prince.
Right.
The prince.
It was a royal court because they were all there for the World Sports Congress. And every country in the world had a delegation represented. And it also was the same day it was announced that Barack and Michelle had been elected for the first time.
Wow.
So the world was congratulating Yuri and I like we were the Obamas. Oh, good job out there, Americans. You did it,
Yeah.
The world was so happy for us.
Who could follow you, John? Nobody could follow you.
Right.
Nobody would be able to.
That was the plan.
He made sure he stayed way ahead of the pack, didn't he?
I had to
Didn't he, Bob? He
distinguish
stayed way
myself.
ahead of the pack.
There were some much more qualified brothers.
Oh, God, man.
Hey, Michelle.
Let's first of all, congratulations for your book. I mean, I really wanted to highlight how y'all started because in relationships, it started with this fantastic story. It always start fantastic.
Yeah, but there was a lot of stuff behind that.
Right. As far as what? As
This
far
is
as
our third marriage.
Okay, there you go.
each.
So when we talk, this both of y'all been married 3 times. This is y'all
This
third
is it.
marriage each.
Final. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, this is it. It'll be 10 years this year.
For y'all.
Mm-hmm.
That's why forgiveness was the only thing we
Way.
were really qualified to be considered experts on, because we've had to
Okay.
practice it so consistently throughout our lives, each of us, because of our mistakes and the mistakes of others.
So, wow, forgiveness had to become a thing.
Had to.
So the third marriage, both of y'all been married 3 times. This is absolutely fascinating.
I'm sure my children are hearing this. They might not have known that, but
They
okay.
need to
They
hear
need
it.
to hear.
Really?
Just thought that.
So that's interesting. Since you mentioned that, before we go into the next point, since you mentioned that about your children, the merger, that is have got to, because when you have children, you automatically get into this position where you prioritize them as the top priority. So how do you merge becoming one and prioritizing, your spouse in that's
Very carefully. Yeah. We have 7 children combined, and it has taken time. That's just real talk. It has
Yeah.
taken time.
Determinations about this new relationship
Right.
from their own perspectives. And you have to be willing to have a conversation with them about that as an individual, as well as a member of the family as a whole.
Right.
And it's very complicated, and it takes a lot of patience.
Yeah. And you have to set some boundaries.
That's got to be an ongoing obstacle.
It never ends.
It never ends. It gets better though. Real talk, it gets better, and it has gotten better over 10 years.
If you care.
Yeah.
If you care, it gets better over time, but it's difficult at best.
Yeah. You have to want it. You have to be committed to the commitment. And so all that goes around that. And a lot of times we're willing to think about, we want all the stuff that's good, but we don't want all the stuff that's challenging too. But they're one and the same. You can't have one without the other.
How much do you think that play a factor in a lot of couples that merge like that, their demise?
I think the demise seems to be, just based on my experience, the demise is engineered. It will happen if you don't take proactive steps to relationships just seem to be that way, because over time, when you're trying to relate to somebody, as much as you love them, their flaws just come out and you notice them. And then you have to make judgment or not you can live with that 5 more years, 1 more year, 10 more years. And then if they're willing to make an attempt to be a better partner, or are they just on autopilot? It's just a really important, that's why it's so important to have communication with your partner, your spouse, your significant other, so that if you want to see that relationship 10 years down the road, you lay the foundation now in the way you communicate, in your rules of engagement when the conflict arises, and it inevitably will. And you just have to learn how to manage it. Okay, we didn't do so well that time.
Right.
I'm sorry. I forgive you. Will you forgive me? And then you can kind of reset there and really commit to moving forward together in a different way.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your practice of. I'm sorry. Did you finna ask something? I seen your finger move.
I was just curious about how you came to choose forgiveness. Did you already know that before you started, or
It chose us?
It chose us. Yeah.
We didn't want it. This isn't popular, and it's not easy to talk about. And everybody thinks they already know what it is, And it's just so exciting when the scales come off and people think, "Oh wow, this isn't what I thought it was."
I had a Holy Spirit moment. I just really got waken up in the middle of the night and told, this is what you need to do. And I can't elevate you until you get it right. And it was really just that plain. And before I knew it, I just started writing uncontrollably. Just my fingers were just going on my phone. And I even tried to go to sleep. And he said, I'm not done quite yet. I was like, okay. And I just kept going. And I have to be honest with you, it was scary, the idea of doing something like this, because it's very different from what our lives were. We were corporate people, nonprofit people. John is ex-military. He served 20 years, a combat soldier. I had been an executive, owned companies. worked with C-suite executives across North America. You know, I mean, it was just a very different kind of life. And then God found a way to bring us together. And then we had to struggle. I mean, just be honest with you.
Powerful though. You said when you was describing it earlier, you said that, okay, John said you own the company. John once said that. And then you said when you came to a table, you said, "Who's this?"
Yeah.
It's like that's almost like a authoritative disposition, mental disposition that shows it gives insight into where you were standing as a person.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out. So you went through a transformation.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the perfect word.
Yeah.
We both have. We're
both
not
have.
the same
We're not the
people
same
we were
people.
then.
No.
In any stretch of the imagination.
No, very, very, very different people.
But I do feel better than I was, which is a good thing.
From the
because that
inside
means
out.
I've grown.
Yeah. And believe you me, you know, hurt people, right? And until you really get in touch with what your real hurt is and who the real issue is, I had to remind myself that he wasn't the enemy. And that's what we do. We lash out at the people that are closest to us when stuff starts to go left, right? Well, it must be we immediately have to assign blame. There has to be a reason, right? Mm-hmm. Not that we didn't contribute to it, but there had to be a reason. And so after a while, when you get enough of this pointing fingers and, you know, you said this, you said that, it gets exhausting. And we're grown. I'm going to be 53 years old this year. And I'm like, I'm full grown. You know, I don't need to be fooling around with no foolishness. Either we're going to get this right or not. And so you just have to choose. So we decided, we just came up with some modalities that says, you know what? I choose you. I choose you. Okay, what's your check-in? Which love tank is low today? What do you need? And so if you're not deliberate about that, relationships don't flourish. They just don't develop.
Careers do, though. You can work 24/7 and chase that and grind, and that really will bring the material satisfaction that we all want. I mean, we're selling a book. We want to make some money too, so that we can continue to grow and expand this work. But it just doesn't seem to do well in creating intimacy or creating connectivity with people that are really important to you, parents, siblings. This positions us to have less of that and more connection, more fond memories maybe at the end.
Can I say, when it comes to relationships, I don't only want us to consider like husband-wife type of relationship. So just how you relate to other people.
Yep.
So my sister, we're in the car, we're driving, and I say something to her that bothers her. She gets really upset. She starts yelling at me, cursing me out, just really ugly, to the point where in my head I say, you know what? I'm not talking to you ever again.
That's right.
Now this is my whole sister. We have the same mother and the same father.
That's right.
Yep.
She's she knows me better than anybody. She knows secrets I haven't told anyone. I do not want to give up this relationship. But in that instant, in that moment,
our visceral response is,
right,
I'm through with you.
So then, but the reason I wanted to share the story is something that John just said, which caused me to, at that moment, I said, I don't want to give up this relationship. Kind of like that the deathbed type thing. I said, I don't want to give up this relationship. So I decided instantly, I'm just going to pretend like it didn't happen. I'm going to talk to her as if it didn't happen. I'm going to treat her as if it didn't happen. She knows it happened. She knows she went ugly on me. And then I did it. Like there was something that happened in the car. And I was like, oh yeah, I started celebrating her. Like I said something like, Joy, that's my sister's name. I was like, yeah, Joy, she real good at that. And it was something that she's really good at. And I celebrated her. About, say, an hour later or something like that, we stopped for gas. She goes into the store and she finds a bag of chips that we can't find anywhere else on earth, right? For some reason, she's just like really resourceful this way. And then she comes to the car, and she beats on the door and she's like, peace offer. And just that quick, we were able to go back to whatever we needed to be.
Right.
And I was just like, but at least somebody has got to say, I don't want to give you up.
Right.
Yeah.
But you really went back. It wasn't conditional. You took the chips, you had that, but you didn't still have stank. The real
Oh yeah, I ate them
reset.
chips. They was good.
As rare as they were.
Right. That's like you're hot. You're hot Cheeto nuts. That's so funny.
Right?
That's so funny.
I
But
have
it
some.
happens. You have to make a decision at a point in time. And you know, faith-based or non-faith-based person, right? This is someone who you love. This is your ride or live, right? And they've done something absolutely foul.
The kind of stuff that I would have quit a friend for.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Oh no, we wouldn't still be friends after
Exactly. Straight U-turn, get out, boom. I'm telling you, been there. And I've not always responded that way. So you did a really good thing. Now you got to say, all right, underneath all that, when you think about that situation, do you still become elevated? Do you still, when she does her next thing, do you say, there she goes again?
that. Naturally, I will.
Of course.
Absolutely, right? What we have a tendency to do until you can have the maturity to say, in that point in time that I've forgiven that person, we stack all those offenses over and over and over again. And we replay the video of that hurt. And that is why we get stuck in that visceral place and never go beyond that.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that in that moment, that's not the moment to try and talk it out.
No.
So then eventually we got to a point where we had the conversation
right.
like, look, sis, I really don't like when you talk to me like
Oh,
this.
That's right.
wonderful.
That's good.
Truth.
Truth.
Yeah.
Not everyone can get there. And
I want you to
and-
elaborate on stacking, the way you was stacking.
yeah,
Elaborate on
that's so
the way you said that.
It's called a memory.
well,
Keeping a regular
This will be important for you.
A
Yeah.
file,
As
a file
a
cabinet.
new husband.
right.
You'll know so that you'll know that when this is happening to you.
And I mean it goes both ways. But both
It
sexes
does.
do it. You know, I'm just from my perspective. I know that when I would argue, I could start on one thing, and before I know it, I've talked about 5 or 6 other things that are part of now the conversation. And John's looking at me like, I thought we were talking about this. And I'm like, but no, all of this is related and blah, 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 you know.
Mm.
But when I really examined and unpacked what I was doing, I was raggedy. I was really raggedy because I had held on to all of these things, never discussed them, never dealt with the frustration with, and then it had built up to resentment. And I'm wondering, why am I vomiting all of this information now? And all I'm talking about is you didn't take out the trash.
Mm.
I mean, that was real.
What
And
did you discover? What was the reason? Like, why do you think the reason was? Like, why do you think it was for yourself?
Sometimes, you know, for me as a woman, and I can only speak for me, I'm trying my best to know I'm studying my husband. I'm trying to figure out what are the triggers of him. You know, what is it that gets him going or not going? That, you know, so there's part of that, you know, what's the right timing for something? The other part is like, you know, I'm just going to do it myself and I'm done with it. And so then I'll get him on the next thing. And you start keeping score when you're really not evolved. You know what I mean? So just being honest.
Mm-hmm.
You start keeping score because you feel justified in doing that.
Yeah, I call it cataloging and filing.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cataloging and filing.
Right.
Cataloging and
Yeah.
filing.
And then when
I
the
love it.
meeting comes, you bring out the whole binder.
The Bible calls it keeping a record of wrongs.
Oh, come
Right?
on now.
No,
That's
Yeah.
it.
When
That's
it
exactly
be
right.
called?
Exactly right.
I think it's just so awesome that you were able to recognize that in yourself. Do you know how you came to say, hey, like when you said you used the word raggedy. So when did you get to that point in time when you was like, ooh, ouch, I'm raggedy? Like, where did the mirror come from?
My
What a
husband,
great question.
you know, I think. Well,
We got some
my husband-
confessions too, Yuri. So
Yeah,
we're not gonna
no,
leave you on
no,
the
no, no,
island.
no, no.
Okay?
I think my husband and the Holy Spirit, you know, and a combination of the two. His timing of bringing it to my attention, maybe not even where I may have wanted to hear it. But wait a minute, it's like, didn't we start the conversation here? Let's focus on that one thing. Can we unpack that thing right there first?
So I'm
being
sure it's more than-
willing to address the rest at the right time. But we've diverted from the purpose of the conversation now because you want to roll everything in. Let's deal with this one thing first, and then we can deal with the next thing.
And sometimes it
just
would
trying to
be
break
like
it
that,
down
and
for me.
sometimes it would be argumentative, and I'd be like, why did this escalate? It didn't have to go here.
Yeah.
And it was that moment where I said, this relationship means too much to me. Why am I doing this? And we have gone there. We've gone to the brink of, you're done, I'm done, just all of that.
She was like taking earrings off, ready to fight, grabbing the Vaseline.
Put my hair up. I was like, oh, we gonna do that.
Hey, you're listening to John and Yuri Cruzat on Rize Radio on IntellectualRadio.com. The call that number 708-223-8953. I know they have a fascinating conversation going on, but we still got to throw out the call in number. So anyway, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that everybody know who they were listening to. John and Yuri Cruzat talking about forgiveness, right? And let's talk about your book, the audio book. Let's talk about 7 days of forgiveness.
A journey to healing. We were just so excited to actually get the project done. There were so many obstacles, and of course, the financial demands of trying to produce anything can be very, very constrictive. And with such a large family, it was really a miracle that we got this done. It was Red Dove Media, Deshaun Ragland,
Shout
and
out
the
to
whole
Deshaun.
team that really kind of wrapped around us and handheld us through the entire process. Produced a really wonderful product that we're just so excited is available on Audible now.
Yep.
On Amazon?
Amazon Audible.
Amazon?
On Audible. Amazon Audible. It's 7 days of forgiveness. It's a practice on how to forgive.
Because everybody, I think, knows that it's probably something we should do. And even some Christians might know that it's something we must do. But no one says how to do it.
Right.
And the book is very basic in its application of the practice. And we call it a practice because it's not one and done. It's something you have to continue, just like working out, just like watching your nutrition if you want to be healthy, just like developing a skill. If you want to get better at selling or whatever it is, you have to keep doing it. And forgiveness is the same way. And this practice equips you to do that.
One of the concepts of the practice that you, like Yuri was talking about, is you at first initially have to internalize, right, your own expressions you put out, right? Because I'm very sarcastic, right? And I'm learning.
I say quick-witted. Quick-witted.
Is that what it is? That's what you call sarcastic?
Quick-witted.
So yeah, I'm quick-witted then. I like that better, Yuri.
Hold on. The way you said that, you slowed it down.
Wait,
No,
she justified it.
She slowed it down. Like you slowed it down. So quick with it. But you slowed it down like this. Like you said, I'm quick with it. I'm quick with the sarcasm.
So,
but no, you are brilliant. Absolutely.
Okay,
So you are quick with it.
With to my wife, I would be sarcastic based off something that she would tell me that it feels common knowledge. Like, I might just say if I come to work, and dirt in my fingernails, or I'm dusty, and I was like, wow, I'm really dirty. I'm dusty. I had to do this at work today. She's like, oh, well, all you got to do is go in there and run some bath water and take a bath. And I was like, wow, I would have never figured that out. She told me that. I'm sarcastic like that. Right. But she didn't mean any harm by what she was saying. It's just her way of expression, right? But so, but those things end up stacking up. At least in her mind. In her mind, they could be things to irritate, and we both are responding, like you say, instinctively off of how we would think.
How you've been communicating all your life.
Right. And we're sending messages. We always send a message like, I don't need you to tell me when to take a bath. I know I need to take a bath.
Because that's the subtext.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
So, that's why my point about the question is like, it really would start internally. Right.
Well, you at some point in this whole forgiveness thing, you have to even have the consideration that, I have to consider that I may have to forgive this person. You know what I mean? There has to be something. If you're just like grounded, hunkered down and be like, I ain't never, ever, ever, ever forgiven that person. You know what I mean? This probably isn't the discussion for you, because that's a whole nother conversation, and I don't have the right degree for that. But if you are really trying to heal, if you're really trying to do this thing right, if you're really trying to experience joy, if you're really not trying to walk around with a whole bunch of stank in your heart, if you're really trying to be a good steward of time and people and you know what I mean, and show up right in the world, you're not going to hold on to all of that all the time because it's not even actually for the other person. It's for you. The release is for you.
Yeah.
And at some point, you have to say, do I love myself enough to just get rid of this for once and for all, to be done with it? There are folks walking around holding on to stuff for people who have died.
Yeah.
And they ain't ever going to reconcile that.
Right.
And that's the mystery right there. We always think of forgiveness as something we give to someone else when it is for us.
That's pretty deep.
Trust me, that person you're not forgiving isn't thinking about you. They're going on with their life, and maybe for a little while their feelings will be hurt because they know you got a grudge. But believe me, it won't hold them back, but it will hold you back.
So you got to forgive a person. You're saying you got to forgive a person for what it does to you if you don't forgive them. Would that be?
That's close.
Yeah.
Understanding that when someone hurts you, you know, especially someone close to you that you're in a relationship with, and the whole basis of forgiveness presupposes that there is a legitimate offense. You have every right to be mad. So forgiveness releases you from the resentment and the pain of that experience. It may not change that other person. It may not even change the circumstances much. But guess what? You will be free so that you don't have to continue to replay the video of what they did to you, telling all your friends what they did to you, and just festering that resentment, irritation, frustration, whatever it is, so that it prevents you from moving forward in your life. That stifles you.
It does.
In your journey.
Right.
You will stop as soon as you run into a situation that you can't get past, because that's why there are industries created to give us that help. That's why this book was provided, to provide people help to move past that, because a lot of people are stuck right there because they can't move past something that happened to them. And forgiveness is just one tool to help you move forward if you know how to do it.
Talk about your just brief acronym, and tell us what you
That's
just
the
brief.
tool.
That's the tool.
Yeah. That's a literal practice.
A literal practice.
So tell us about this practice and how to utilize it. How should people utilize it?
So B is begin in the spirit.
Begin in the spirit.
Begin in the spirit. You know, and this is a Christian book, but it is. You know, sometimes, you know, you just do things unapologetically, because if the Holy Spirit is giving you something to do, I'm going to do it the way he gave it to me. And either you are with it or you're kind of not. You know, when Rick Warren wrote A Purpose-Driven Life, he wasn't saying, you know, this is a book for Christians. He just wrote what God told him to do, right? So understand that Jesus is through this, because if not for him, we would not be able to even do this. So begin in the spirit is essential. When something hits you immediately, we escalate. That's that visceral boom, right?
Emotion.
You've got to have something that gets you to just even, that just diffuses you. And I'm like, whew, in my anger, do not sin. I have 2 to 3 go-to scriptures that I just have in my back pocket that I know that, greater is he in me than he is in the world. Because that fool is about to do something, right? You know, seriously, you have to have something that gets you to just not be 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, right? Then resist making it bigger is R. That means that's the stacking thing. What is here right now that I'm dealing with? Or am I bringing back the hurt and the pain of what my daddy did, and now I'm bringing that into my relationship with my husband? Resist making it bigger. And then E is evaluate emotions. Be authentic about what you're dealing with, and understand and call it what it is, what the emotion is. Then A, you want to finish up?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, A is agree to stabilize.
Oh.
T is temper response. H is expect healing. And then E is enter his peace.
So say it one more time. B is what? Real quick.
Begin in the spirit.
Begin in the spirit.
R, resist making it bigger.
Resist making it bigger.
E, evaluate emotions.
Evaluate emotion. I want to ask you about how do you evaluate emotions? How would you evaluate?
You know what? Not Not many people ask that question. And it's probably one of the most important questions you can ask because we just go with emotion. We just figure we feel this way, we must do how we feel. That's not true. We are one of the few species, if not the only species, human, that can actually think about what we're thinking about. Animals don't have that ability, nor do they have creative imaginations. We can have self-awareness. So you can ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? I know that I'm getting angry. But why? Why am I angry? Because they said something to me that felt offensive. And you can walk yourself through the process, and it usually just takes just a moment. But because you're aware of it, you now have the opportunity to decide how you're going to respond.
Or not respond
Or
at all.
not respond.
Because sometimes you just need to get out of that situation and not deal with that right now. That's not the time to deal with it. You know, this is the inside talk. These are the self conversations. This is not the stuff you're sharing with people as you're going through this. This is your, you know what I mean? So, you know, you might have to do Baptist finger like, you know what? I'm going to let you sit in that for a
I'm on
sec.
R right now. You don't know what R is. You have no idea what R is, and I'm on R right now.
I haven't finished my practice yet.
Hey,
Don't talk to me yet.
you've been reading John and Yuri, huh?
But seriously, you know what? I can't talk right now. I'm still in evaluate
That
emotions.
is so true. That is
I'm
so
still
true.
in evaluate emotions right now
That is
because
really
I'm
true.
still in my feelings. But what I realize is that I can choose to feel something different.
Wow, that's deep. That is
Most
real,
people
real
don't
close
really-
to it. Impossible. That's very hard.
Which is why we knew it had to be Bible-based, because everyone needs help doing that, even us.
Yeah.
You know, in our own ability to manage our emotions from a psychological perspective. I mean, I think we have the intellect to know how to describe how we feel, but to actually change it and do something different takes a little more probably than we have in and of our own ability.
I'm a school social worker by trade, and that reminds me of how I teach it. But it's two different tracks. So you have one track that's on violence, and you have another track that's on anger or emotion.
That's right.
And so your anger track can be from death stares all the way to, you know, like your anger track can be like bothered, irritated, frustrated. You know, you can just keep your feelings can keep growing, but your violence track can be death stares, killing a person. They don't have to be the same track. Violence and anger is not the same. They're on two different. And like he was saying, like Bob was saying, that's not always easy. Sometimes people feel like we should be on the same track all the time with actions and emotions.
Yeah.
They're two different things.
In fact, you should segment them.
So I even like play like a game with them where I say, because it doesn't necessarily always have to be violent type emotions. It could be just any emotion. So I play a charades game with them. Like we have a pile of actions and a pile of feelings, and you can pick up one feeling and pick up an action and act it out. So you can maybe be crying while you're jumping rope.
Wow, interesting. And
But that's the evaluating feelings. I think it's the same thing.
Absolutely. And
that
you've got
exercise.
to, and I use this cautiously, and let me make sure I use it right, because I don't think you can compartmentalize what you feel, but you can compartmentalize your analysis.
Or you can say, just because I'm feeling this way
Right.
doesn't mean
Yeah.
I need to act that
There we
way.
go.
Absolutely.
That was the point, that I'm
Yeah.
trying to do. So you're
Yeah.
sad. That doesn't mean, every time you see somebody crying, you can't automatically assume that they're sad.
That's right.
We got tears of joy. We got so on, so on, so on.
That's absolutely. But oftentimes
that's
when
good stuff.
emotions are happening, that is really good. You have to have a modality. People don't have a go-to of anything. They're like, I'm in my feelings. How many times do we hear that? I'm in my feelings, so just deal with me. Really now? Is that right? No, it don't work that way. If you're trying to mature and grow and actually be in a relationship, whether it be romantic or otherwise, and actually people can stand you and you actually have good interactions with folks, you can't just be in your feelings and think that you're going to bounce on people and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You just can't do that all the time.
You got to at least be trying to get better. You don't have to be perfect. No one is.
Yeah, but this
But
is about
you should
this is
at
about
least
progression.
want to be better.
Yeah, not perfection, but progression.
Mhm.
And and if after a while everybody is pissing you off,
Look at you.
There you go.
You're the common denominator in all
yeah,
right.
relationships.
is everybody
All this
always
trauma.
irritating? Is everybody always
Everyone
annoying?
always
That's
disappointing
what's
you.
funny is I learned that about cocky comments that I make. You know, when people started describing you, it was like, you know, you arrogant. You know, when people ask you, do you think you're arrogant? One time Benita asked me that. Do you think you're arrogant? Or do you think you're cocky? Then you asked me that.
I think I asked you, like, do you think you're cocky or confident or something like that?
I said, I'm confidently cocky.
And I laughed when he said that.
The perfect answer.
Well, I have no time to be anything else.
Really?
Yeah, as far as, it's the perspective of the question. Sometimes it's based on, I guess the point I want to make about perspective, that's one of the biggest disconnects, because if you're not concepting or making sure that words are defined the same, you can have a misconception. And it becomes your own perspective. So a lot of times people get at odds based off of not concepting things the same. We might use a word, a definition of a word, and we know what it means, so to speak, but we never really, really stop and say, oh, do we really know what that word means together?
And most conflict comes out of misunderstanding. Most things can be dealt with very easily, but because of the emotions involved, it takes you down a path that creates another issue that now complicates the one thing you could have dealt with if you focused on it out the gate.
Well, and the other thing is, too, people like to win.
Yes.
Our egos are tremendous.
That's real.
And if you're in an exchange with somebody and nobody's saying stop, then it becomes a battle of the egos. Well, you gonna say something, I'm gonna say something. It just, and before you know it, this thing has escalated into something. That's where this track that you're talking about, and then it's out of control.
I'm gonna try that at home one day until I tell you, y'all, baby, you lost, baby, you lost this argument. I'm gonna try that at home and see how it works.
Good luck with that.
Like, we ain't seen Robert on in a while. Where's Robert?
I don't think you're gonna see.
Hey, what does A stand for?
Agree to stabilize. So at some point, you have to say, I'm not going to let my emotions rule me anymore. I'm not going to let this thing get out of control anymore. And from a spiritual point of view, it's really saying, am I going to believe in God's promises or the pain of what I'm feeling? What's going to take precedence? Because really, if I believe that all things work together for my good, I really should never really get pissed off.
True, right. Or
at least stay that way.
Or stay that way.
Right.
Or my mother did eulogize a woman who was 108. And when she was 103, my mother asked her what was the secret to life. And my mother's 89. So she's, this woman is like talking to her junior, right? Baby. And she said, you know what? She goes, I eat well. I exercise every day. And I don't worry about nothing. And she just died 3 weeks ago at 108. That's what she said.
Age-old wisdom.
Was she still married?
No, actually, no.
I think she outlived a few
her
husbands.
husband.
Yeah, she outlived a few husbands.
Yeah, she outlived Miss Grace. She outlived a few husbands.
I was like that. That's what somebody look at. That's a dumb question. Like, okay, I just had to ask.
But I think there's something about this idea that you at some point you've got to stabilize, and it can't keep on going. The merry-go-round just can't keep on happening. The cycling can't keep on happening. At some point, you're just not going to take the 40-year trip anywhere for the 11-day journey. At some point you just got to say, I'm going to stabilize.
Right. T, what does the T stand for?
Temper your response.
Temper your response.
Yeah. Because at some, when and if you're ready to talk in that situation, you're most likely going to have to say something. How are you going to say it? Because how you say it is really...
It's a key component to your success in communicating, because, in the heat of the moment, the emotions rule, so that everything you say will be laced with your emotion. That's why sometimes it's just good to wait a little bit, so that when you come back in an agreed upon way to discuss what happened or learn from it or get to forgiveness, you're better able to decide how to respond most effectively.
I know. John has such an articulate way. Whereas then he like, Yuri, she evaporated my words. Oh, I was like, I'm gonna use that. I swear, I'm gonna steal that immediately. Like,
Oh my God.
he just got away with words, bro. You ain't nothing to play with.
Well,
man.
he said the word lace just now, and instantly I thought of poison.
It is.
And I think that's what, yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
So you're trying to say be careful because you could poison your
Absolutely.
person with your words.
Oh, yes.
Well, there's life and death in the tongue.
Oh, yes.
So and the thing is, especially when it's an intimate relationship, someone that's very close to you, that their triggers. You know exactly how to get that one little thing in there that's just going set them off, And so you can't do that. You have to care for people's hearts. So what you say and how you say it matters.
Yeah. Because you can cap someone's capacity by saying the wrong thing, and they internalize that thing, and they never reach their potential because of maybe a well-meaning level. Oh, maybe you shouldn't try to go there because your skills and capabilities are only here. A statement like that over a child.
That's right.
And working in the school system, how the counselors tend to be the gatekeepers of opportunity for certain kids and judge the potential of others and don't even expose them to things that may very well change their lives because they think they're better suited for someone else, those kinds of things. And then we'll say as much to the child. I had teachers that did that to me, try to cap my potential by passing a wrong judgment on what they perceived were my capability. And I had so much more to offer.
Yeah.
Age. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Yuri.
No, I was just saying that, when anyone who's been married or divorced or who's had an ex or had a child knows that words can end relationships. I mean, end them.
Yes.
And that's not, and some people don't say that's a relationship that's worth keeping.
That's not even a true statement. Remember that statement of sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's not even a true statement.
No,
That's not even true.
Words hurt.
Words hurt.
Words really hurt.
Yeah.
Words really hurt. Go ahead.
In my head, when we were talking about this, because
Where else would you get your thoughts from?
That was funny. And as a social worker, you would think that I am just a pro at this, but this conversation is really inspiring and helpful, even for my own self. I have always felt like, well, for a long time, that I should have freedom in relationships, like my significant other, that I should be free to say whatever I want to say. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna cheat on you, So when I ask for freedom, I don't ask for freedom to do wrong. I ask for freedom to do my right, but in a free way. And I've been accused of having a reckless mouth. And I'm really hearing what you all have to say today, because that is definitely something that I definitely need to work on. And like I said, you would think that as a social worker I would know better.
No,
but it's
all
just
of
been
us.
this, now
Even us.
And the freedom. The reason I wanted the freedom is because by the time I was 12 years old, my parents had already been married for about 20 years, and I observed this freedom between them. But it really wasn't true freedom. It was my mom being able to say whatever she wanted to, because my father later on, like around that time, maybe when I was 13, 14, he went and got some counseling, and he learned how to work out his anger. And as an adult, he explained it to me. He said, Benita, I was so angry. He said, I just didn't say anything. If I said anything, I probably would have killed her. He said to me.
Right. That's right.
Because he didn't know how to control his emotion at the time. So his silence spoke to me as a 12-year-old as, oh, the woman gets to say whatever she wants to say.
Wow,
I see.
interesting.
So
They modeled it.
right, but even though he went back and explained to me that no, like that's not how it is. Now that was a very formidable moment for me. And the other thing about their freedom, they've been married for 51 years, so they've gone through their trials. But the other thing is, I never saw him complain. Like he never, like for instance, we would drive to another state. This is before internet, before cell phones. And we would get over there and she would talk to this person and that person. And finally about 10 p.m., oh, girl, let me call Ben and let him know. And then he never once did he say, where you been? How come you didn't call me? What's going on? He would just say, okay, hey, thanks, type of thing. There was never an argument over stuff like that. There was just this freedom. So I always looked at relationships like, that's what I want.
He just never sweated the small stuff. That's what it was. He learned not to sweat the small stuff.
You say you learned.
But so what I'm learning now with my guy is that is there really a such thing as freedom? Maybe you're supposed to be careful and not lace your words.
We have rules of engagement. So like we had a thing when we first got married called Real Talk Mondays. And we would come together, and that was that Monday.
You had the freedom?
Yeah.
No thin skin.
No thin skin.
Just
you straight get
take
it.
my truth.
Right. Take my truth the way it is. With the intention of coming to a solution.
There's this T-shirt I have that says, freedom of expression does not equal freedom of consequence.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
So on your truth Mondays.
That's right. Yeah, on the Real Talk Mondays.
On the Real Talk Mondays.
Just don't get beside yourself.
Right. And so consequences were kind of suspended for an agreed upon. You can get to the truth.
Gotcha.
You could say it how it needs to be said, how you've been thinking and rehearsing it, but we're too polite because you didn't want to frustrate, irritate, aggravate.
That's
now I could be free.
But it did. But we
want
we've
you
never
to feel me.
I know we have been disrespectful. We've learned not to be disrespectful. We created rules of engagement, like some boundaries. Like, you're not gonna curse me out. I'm not gonna curse you out.
No name calling.
No name calling.
Yeah.
Was it okay to bring up old stuff? Was it okay to do that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah, not on this.
Not on Real Talk
on
Monday.
Real Talk Monday.
You can build whatever's on your mind.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
your
but we
own
tried to
organic
limit
mind,
it to
right?
what might have just happened in those 7 days.
We try to keep it current.
Try to keep
Gotcha.
it current, right?
Because most stuff was already forgiven because we had already worked through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that
Lessons learned.
But now we don't need a Real Talk Monday. It's just Real Talk moments.
Mm.
We handle them in time. We don't go to bed.
We're actually getting
really
better
trying,
at it.
really trying. I mean, it's rare. I don't know the last time we went to bed angry. I can't
And even then, I think we woke up because we knew it wasn't
the
right.
right thing to do.
Y'all don't even seem like y'all get angry about it.
No, that's
I believe you, but it's just don't. It's the fact is y'all supplying so much hope for people. With the energy of the way y'all love, the energy of with the way you're talking about sacrifice. You know what I mean? It makes it hard to imagine. You know what I mean? Like, wow, this is.
It is hard to
know what I
imagine until you experience it. And I don't think there's enough people talking about how great marriage can be, relationships can be, sibling. I have a sister who recently came back to Chicago, and there was a time in our lives where we were in conflict because she was trying to control me, bully me when we were tiny, until I finally had to exert my strength because I was, she was a year older than me, but I was a male. So I grew a little faster. And as I grew, I got stronger. And eventually she couldn't control me anymore. And I kind of flipped it just so that she could see what I was going through. This is what happens when you make me feel like this. I shouldn't have done that.
Premeditated.
Right. And then through my life, I realized, and a career in the military, that power comes in a lot of different ways. And that in the infantry environment I was in, it was about being intimidating and professional and direct. In the church, it was about being kind and warm and inviting. So I've had experience practicing all of that and all the range of emotions associated with it, so that when I experience it in my marriage, extremes don't really bother me. I don't like them, but I know what they are. It's just the emotions evolving in the worst or best way, based on how you choose to go forward in a conversation or a conflict.
Disagreement. Mm-hmm.
H. What does the H stand for again?
Expect healing. Healing. At some point, when you've tempered the response, when you've actually responded, you now need to be done with that thing.
Mhm.
You need to be healed.
Got to be okay.
You got to be okay. And promises are yes and amen. So at the end of the day, he's giving you the desire of your heart. And so we expect that healing. We expect it. Why not? And then that's our peace. Then you can enter peace.
Right.
Because that's the thing. Again, it's not like you're never ever going to not get mad. That's not the point. It's how do you get back to peace faster?
That's good.
That's how you know you're getting better. How do I get back to peace faster?
Right.
Is it taking me less time to get the stank off of me? That's how you know you're progressing. Did that thing bother me that bothered me last year? No, it's not. Are people even examining that certain things that don't bother them anymore?
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be having the same triggers year after year after year after year.
Right.
That's right.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. It shouldn't.
Few
comments. Kate Nathaniel Thomas said, "Now that's love." He talking, describing y'all. He said, "Now that is love."
Thank you.
My wife said, "Don't try that at home."
I know, right?
She also said, I love the first meeting story. Hello to Miss Lisa Perry. We're gonna put this at a challenge. We're gonna put this practice at a challenge. I want to ask y'all some questions real quick. About 7 questions. I'm gonna make it an odd number, so one of y'all it got to be an odd number. You know what I mean? So y'all ready? Y'all got to answer the question in less than.
Is this like quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
You
Let's
got
do
to
it.
answer the question. I don't want y'all to think about it. But y'all got to answer as a couple though.
Okay.
That makes sense.
See if it's the same or different.
Well, you got it. Y'all won, right? You got to be, they can be different though. So here you go. Come on, y'all ready?
Okay, here we go.
Who's always right?
She is.
Who's more patient?
I am.
He is.
Who's better with money?
I am.
She is.
Who's the romantic?
I am.
He is.
Who's spontaneous one?
I am.
Who's the smartest?
She
I
is.
Who's the most creative?
I think that's something
Something
we
we
share
share.
and are growing in together because we're
Yeah,
both
that's so
kind of
interesting.
business folks.
Yeah, we bounce off each other. Our vibes kind of come together on the creativity. Yeah.
I think y'all evened up actually. So I think one of y'all answered alike, and then the other one.
I didn't keep to. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
You agree with?
Very.
Yeah, y'all balanced out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
For the
ask
most part.
y'all passed the test. God helped y'all pass the test.
Yes, sir.
I'm not gonna throw another answer question in there.
I got one of my Facebook friends has Maine. Hey Maine, how you doing? Thank you for posting the question. But he asked some questions that I think might be helpful.
Sure.
He says terrorism from a woman.
Ooh, that's good, and I know exactly what he's talking about.
How women can those tactics, those quiet
Manipulative
things,
things.
manipulative type
and it
things.
shows up in a lot of different ways.
All of y'all are familiar with this.
Irrational jealousy, control and
Passive
invasion of
aggressive.
your privacy. I know what he's talking about from that situation. That means you now have to. It's like you said. That's not my degree.
I want
to heal from it, I can help you.
Yeah.
To survive it and to function in it.
That's a little tricky.
You have to get
I
out
wonder
of
if
that.
women are able to change that, to stop that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can.
You have to within yourself decide that that's what you want to do.
Because there's some questions that go along with why you're doing that to someone.
Because I think honestly, there's probably some moments, I pretty much pride myself on not being that kind of chick, but I'm sure there's moments. I'm sure there's been moments where it was
playfully, I think we all do that. I'll be like, Daddy, can you do it to such?
Or hold on.
She's
Here's
talking
one that
about
I was
control.
just saying just now. Like, for instance, say he caught me saying something that was, maybe my mouth got a little reckless, and then he calls me on it, and then my response is, I love you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That always works for me, though. If you got a good, sexy look and you can say those words smooth off your tongue like that, I'm done. Whatever you just did, it's okay. I love you
Because
too,
this is what's
baby.
coming afterwards. You're like, I ain't gonna cut my love
I
and
know
all.
when I'm
No,
being
but-
manipulated, but sometimes I'm okay with it.
You okay with it?
And let's go there, because I've unfortunately have and I've heard many scenarios where I know women have withheld sex,
Definitely, that's one of
know,
those tactics.
to try to, like, I'm gonna teach him kind of thing, and they're married.
Don't hurt yourself, there.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't hurt yourself, girl.
So, first of all, manipulation is never good.
No.
It really isn't. Manipulation is not good. And when it's done, I mean, there might be this playful thing like, Daddy, can you such, there's
Yeah.
that's just being playful.
Girl
That's doing,
privileges.
he calls them girl privileges. Yeah.
I like that. Girl privileges.
But I honor that. I don't take advantage of it either.
Mhm.
I honor that he honors who I am as a woman and knows that there may be some things that he might go out of his way for me, and he does it lovingly. And I just don't take advantage of it because I know that he's doing it from love, So when you can get to that point, that's ideal. No one's trying to get over on anybody. If you're with somebody who's trying to get over on you, you probably do need to reconsider the relationship, or say, listen, I'm no longer going to allow you to do that to me. And if you want me to come whole and you come whole, and let's make this thing right. But if we're going to be manipulating each other back and forth, this is not good nothing good is going to come from that, because it's not from a space of truth.
The sad part is, I think women learn how to do this very young, like
They do.
at 2 years old.
That's right. Yeah.
They'll say things like, a girl will say to another girl as early as 2, let's play with this. Instead of saying, I want to play with this, will you play with me? It's like we learn that we don't want to deal with the rejection. We don't want to deal with pain. And so we formulate questions in ways that
Are self-protective.
and it ends up turning into this manipulative tool.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because you're trying to set up scenarios for you to get what you need and to gain out of it. And it's very true. I mean, we have daughters. Enough said.
Yeah, I'm staying girl privileges, huh?
Well, there's girl privileges, and then there's a little pain with some of it too. Because I want my daughters to be powerful. I want them to be powerful in their own right. I want them to feel whole from the inside out. I don't want them to feel like they've got to maneuver situations in order for them to get the things that they want. I want them to have a personal fortitude that says, this is how I work, this is what I do, this is how I love, and have confidence in that. The reason people manipulate is because they're not feeling, they're lacking. There's a lack that's there.
Or lack of confidence.
Based on how you are as a woman, like, how do you teach your daughters to be with mindset as far as
it's hard? It's really
far as being a man, like what their approach would be toward their man, their man, as far as being, the word I'm thinking of is in agreement. I'm thinking of submissive, or how do you teach them to have their work? You don't like the word submissive. Let me use
Nobody likes that word.
Let me find another word in.
But
agreement. That's why I started with agreement.
In alignment.
I started with the alignment.
In
Okay.
alignment.
How do you teach them to be that way and still be strong as you just want them to be, like you just described?
Are you a Key and Peele fan?
Who?
Key and Peele.
What is that?
It's like some YouTubers.
Yeah.
Okay, I never.
It's a delicate balance. It's a delicate balance.
Do they have one of those? I didn't see that one. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna love that.
Yeah. It's hard. Because
they're all different.
They're different. But just from a woman's perspective, to be honest with you, if we could flip the script on that submission thing, and if we could see that it's really God having given us a quiet power to influence our families, to be the heartbeat of our families, to influence and impart in our families. If we could flip that submission thing in our head, our heart would follow.
And it's really up to the men too, because when it comes to the conversation of submission, it just seems like the man is in the position, but that's not the case. When you understand what submission really is, it's offered. And when it's offered, you honor it. You don't try to take advantage of it. Or, like, for example,
offered.
If your wife offers you her submission.
Okay.
And she wants to be in a traditional man-woman relationship with you where the gender roles are outlined that way, and you receive that submission with honor. You're very careful with it. You don't want to take advantage of it. You don't want to keep reminding her you're in submission to me. That's not submission at its very best, because when it's freely given, you sure better honor it and handle it very carefully.
That
so
means
that
he's
you can
making
enjoy
decisions
it.
on our behalf. His intentions are always around our good. His intentions. That's why I can do it. I couldn't submit to 2 other men.
Right.
Real talk. I was like, deuces.
Right. I see your point.
Because you feel like they're trying to choke you,
right,
stifle
exactly.
you.
And I'm like, you knew who I was when you married me. I'm not that chick.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're telling me that you're going to honor what I'm doing, that you're going to edify me, that you're going to lift me up, that you hold me blameless, now that, okay, I'm going to yield to that. I'll yield to that, brother.
And that is a position of submission for the man, because now you have to let your woman fly and trust that when she flies, she's not going to forget about you. It's just a complete vulnerability to trust her and to support everything she does.
And I have to tell
everything.
you. Yeah.
Wow.
Everything.
That's deep. That's deep.
Because once you come to an understanding in your relationship, she's not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize you or your relationship. So you can support it happily.
That doesn't mean that you're not going to have an opinion, or, I want his advice. If I'm going down a wrong path, he'll say, you might want to
I don't have any problem raising the alarm.
Yeah, we do that for each other. But that's the freedom. It's an interdependence.
And she lets me speak into her life that way because she trusts my opinion. She honors my opinion. Imagine that.
You put it so elegant. I'm trying to imagine myself raising the alarm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do I raise the alarm?
We have really crazy little things we do, to be honest with you. Danger.
And when things get like really crazy between us, like a family member is acting up and then the kids are in trouble at school, someone's sick, now they got to go to the hospital. When how when life reaches a critical mass, we can look at each other and say, it's me. How you doing? It's like you come out of your circumstances for a moment to check in, and then you got to re-engage, but you can do it better because you've connected.
Man.
Wow, that's awesome. Can I ask you another question? Posted by Maine. He says, what is the process to express pain or let out something negative to your partner? Do you think we covered that already?
That is a great question. No, I don't know that we've covered that directly.
Like the actual
negative communication, when you got to give bad news.
or bring
That's
it
how
up
I'm interpreting this.
Yeah.
What's the
you
process
got to share
to
some
express?
bad news or something you need to get. That was our Real Talk Monday. That was it in a nutshell. I need to be able to look you in the face and say, I feel like this. I didn't like it when you did this, or create a opportunity to make an observation that they're not going to want to hear. You need to stop doing this or something like that, something direct and negative.
It's hard. So I'm a bit of a setup person, in the sense that because I'm a trainer, I'm a facilitator. So I always, context is important to me so that the person who's now hearing this gets the learning objective out of it that I want them to. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I approach it that way. What is it that I want to have happen? I operate with the end in mind. What do I want this conversation to have? What do I want to have happen here? And then have your intention match your impact. If you want to ensure that you're still in love with this person when you're done, that they've recognized your hurt and pain, that they've owned their contribution to the confusion, and that you've owned yours, and that you can get to a point of reconciliation and move forward, then take the steps that get you there. Saying, no, I didn't like what you said. You need to respect me. Blah, blah, blah. Do you think that's going to get you there? If that's going to get you there, you stick with that approach. My thought is, I offer you this. let me tell you, what you did, it hurt me. Like really, really hurt me deeply. I didn't understand why. I didn't think that what I did warranted that. But I need to understand that if you want to be in a relationship with me, that kind of hurt is not gonna, we won't survive it. Because I can't do that too many more times.
Real Talk Monday.
That's what I thought about when you were telling me about your sister. You're going to forgive and move on, but you want her to
Keep
doing that.
Yes, I
Can't
don't
do
want her
that.
to keep doing that.
Subject yourself
Yeah.
to it if she continues.
Yeah.
So that's another part of forgiveness. It doesn't presuppose a future relationship.
Yeah. It's not reconciliation.
They're two different things.
Exactly.
You can forgive and still exit a relationship.
Wow. Yeah, true.
Because it may not be
Sure.
healthy for you. That person is
You
not
might be
in a
in
position.
danger,
Yeah. That person.
emotional
yeah,
danger,
exactly.
physical
Physical
danger.
danger.
But you can't let it pollute you going forward either.
That reminds me of something I heard Bob say, that relationships are not unconditional, that there's some conditions placed on that,
Yes.
and that these conditions, and that's kind of that what you're saying is reminding me of that we're good up until
Until we're not.
Right.
hopefully we're never not.
Yeah.
Like all this fantastic. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
All this fantastic vibe. Oh man, I love John. I love Yuri. Let's go out to lunch. John just can't walk up and smack my wife on the butt. Pow.
Oh no, that's absolutely
It's over. Like
Mhm.
it's over.
That's
That's what I mean by like it's not.
And should
it's
be.
not,
But will you forgive me for that?
right?
You will ultimately, because you know that to harbor the resentment of something like that would limit your ability to move forward.
but
he
he gonna make sure never to bring you around
But it
his,
ain't gonna happen
Yeah.
again. You're gonna make sure it never
right.
happens again, legitimately.
even if that means never spending time with
you.
you,
Exactly.
or
You ain't
never
gonna be my
putting his
boy,
wife in that
but-
position.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
And that's the thing. People think that forgiveness means I'm going to go and hang out with you and we're going to have martinis.
Mm-mm.
No.
Or the relationship continues to stay the same that
Or
it
the
was
same-
prior to.
Absolutely. It may not.
At that moment, you cross a boundary. It doesn't mean that it ends. It means that that's a moment for renegotiation.
There we go.
Mm.
And
We
so
rethink this now.
sometimes the renegotiation is an ending.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Absolutely.
But we have another tool that we call it reset. Rehearse the victory.
Mhm.
Empty negativity. See a possibility. Enter stillness. Take a deep breath and go.
Because sometimes the emotions aren't going to go away no matter what flowery conversations you
can
have.
but-
You can analyze it to death,
Yeah.
but I still feel like I feel.
Yeah. And I
You
go
just
through
have
that
to
iteration
decide.
again. Do I see a victory in this? Can I see another
Can you say
possibility?
that again, please?
Can I empty the negativity?
Reset.
Reset.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, reset.
Yeah, okay.
Rehearse the victory, empty negativity, see a possibility,
We'll
enter
post it too.
stillness,
Yeah.
and take a deep breath and go. Because you still got to act.
I did get the Audible and listen to it a few months ago when Bob first shared it with me. And the thing that I retained is not all these little.
Acronym.
No, I did not retain that. But what I did retain was just how awesome y'all sound. Like it
Oh,
really,
the meditations.
like
yeah,
it really,
yeah.
it really sounded like you cared, you loved, and you was hopeful.
Mhm.
And I also retained the feeling of, wow, this only took a couple hours. Like this was like a whole podcast.
That's right.
Like listening to your book was the length of time if somebody was to listen to this right here. And I could see you all making more of those.
Thank you.
Like
Yeah.
doing a part 2, part 3,
Right.
part 4.
Segues into the
I
question.
I
What's
received
next
that.
for?
Speak life
Yeah.
into it.
Well,
Right.
that's actually
Mhm.
that's the plan.
That's-
2020. We've got a few things that are coming down the pike. We each have a book that we're writing a book together, and then we have a book individually, like an actual physical book. And I guess we should do it as an Audible too, because Audibles are kind of nice. But but it is a collection of different things. The one book that we're doing together is called A Duelam to Abundance. And so if you know David, when he was in the cave, just that whole journey, and that's this whole transformation, our whole journey that we've taken. So I'm not sure it'll be finished this year because we might still be on the journey, but we'll see if it happens. The other book is Blog, Believers Leaning on God. And then John has a book on Cornelius.
Cry for Cornelius,
Yeah.
kind of a lesser figure in the Bible that had a pretty big impact on me and some lessons I learned from his experience.
So we have that. We also have our yoga practice because this is spirit, soul, and body, right? So we are trying to get people from the inside out whole. So our yoga practice is kicking up at the Emmaus community in the next 2 weeks. We're excited about that in Chicago Heights.
All right. Just starting it. Y'all just starting it
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, starting it there again. We took time off over the holiday, and so we're kicking it back in another 2 weeks. And so we'll have it posted on the page and the times and all of that, and most likely be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah. So we are still doing our nutrition, coaching, all of that still. Workshops for forgiveness too will also be there. So we're actually going to take people through curriculum. We have actual curriculum. This is a 4-week curriculum. They really begin to unpack their stuff.
Wow.
It's now even being unfolded in our corporate lives.
Oh my gosh.
Organizational forgiveness.
I got a contract today. That's what I went to
really?
Washington, D.C. for.
Wow, congratulations, really.
So we're celebrating
we're
too.
celebrating,
This has a corporate arm.
Because think about it, when you're working on teams and someone is really not done well on a team, you're not trying to have that person on your team again.
Right. No.
It impacts the performance of teams. So I don't call it forgiveness, but it is a reset for your teams when things go wrong.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How would somebody get a copy of your book?
On Audible. You can go right on Audible, audible.com, 7 Days of Forgiveness, or look up our names, John and Yuri Cruzat.
It's very, very
It's
reasonably priced.
Very reasonably priced. Yeah. It was more important for the information to be out there. But I agree with you. We're actually in the mix of getting our next little series of things pulled together.
I think that would be awesome.
Thank you.
A lot of times the Audible books, because I do that a lot, listen to Audible books. A lot of times an Audible book could be like 10 or 12 hours. And so as I was listening to it, it was like I listened to it on the way to work and it's over. It's over already. But it was a nice little listen.
And that is a hugely amplified version because the actual practice, as you get better at it, it can happen in moments. You go through the whole breathe.
The nice thing about you all keeping it that link too is that people can go back and watch it or listen to it.
That's the point. It's a practice.
It's a practice.
You're
gonna need it more than once.
Right. Like I said, I remember when you said the breathe, I remembered that from the book, but I wasn't able to,
That
I didn't recall
is part
it until
of my
I was
military
reminded.
background.
The breathe?
Reset. Breathe came
Acronyms, just
out of her sleep.
Yeah.
The reset, that was during some prayer time, but those things are how I remember things because that's how we remember things in the Army.
Gotcha.
Acronyms,
mnemonics, letter designations for words.
Absolutely. I picked some. Y'all gave me some really good nuggets today. Yeah, one of the nuggets.
You got the gems.
Y'all gave it up. Like y'all really gave it up. One of the things, rules of engagement. I love that. Was Mondays. Was the
Real talk
Mondays. And evaluating your emotions.
Evaluate your emotions. Yeah.
Oh, and the checking the freedom. Like freedom is not what you think it should be.
No.
If
Like the lace in the words is, I think that's probably what
Poison.
hit me the most.
Poison.
What type of impact do y'all think legalizing marijuana will have on Illinois?
That's a great question.
Well, the first day it had a $3.2 million impact.
Of course, it'll be economic because there's a real demand.
Day one.
From a clinical perspective, I am a veteran of 2 decades, so I've experienced my share of trauma, and because now I'm in a place post-combat, post-military, where me and my brothers and sisters are suffering from things, and they're still giving them names. And all of the evidence around cannabis seems to indicate that there are some benefits that can be derived. And I'm like, I grew up in Chicago, so I've always been around weed. I never thought it was that serious to begin with. But now that I'm hearing there could be some medical benefits, proven clinical science behind helping veterans move past their trauma, medical benefits around the convulsions and uncontrollable movements, and a host of other things that CBD and THC are doing, it's worth looking at reasonably, so I don't just dismiss it outright.
Well, I just want to get a shout out to Wakana, the first and only female-owned CBD distributor in Illinois. And and it's a group. My real great friend, Dr. Rita McGuire, is their chief medical officer. She has just given great education around the benefits of CBD and THC. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, that's the thing that you were talking about before. She had 1,000 seizures a week.
Oh, wow.
1,000 seizures a week, and she was down to maybe 1 or 2 a day, and not every day. That's how much. And then she had a twin sister who was developing. She was developing at a lower rate than she was. They were actually catching up with each other. So, there's something to be said. I think you just have to make sure that you know what your moderation is. If it's recreational for you, you just need to know, I guess, what your threshold is. Don't act crazy. Don't embarrass the kingdom. That's all I say.
I thought it was interesting the connections you made with the lists associated with registering and all of that. I didn't even think about how government could leverage that against us.
You. Yeah, didn't even think about that.
For those who still have the negative connotation for this thing.
Yeah.
I heard somebody on Facebook say that. That didn't pop in my head all on its own. Mm-hmm. It may have gotten there eventually because I'm one of those conspiracy theory type people.
Kindred spirits.
Right. I'm pretty sure I would have said something like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always feel like they're watching. They're constantly watching.
Yeah.
So why would they stop watching?
Now it's a revenue stream. So, it's an interesting positioning now that it has.
They'll make all the money and then leverage it against you when they need to.
I knew it was different. Right. I knew it was different when the guy at work was like, yeah, man, because I'm just going to go kick it, man, and I'm going to smoke a little bit this weekend. I said, man, that was the first time I hit that. From a standpoint when he had confidence saying it.
Right. To share. Yeah.
It just didn't matter. Like, it was kind of a reality check.
Yeah.
I think I'm most concerned about the children. Like, what's going to
children? Yeah.
Are they going to be exposed more than they
should be
or would have been?
And their development too, because even Sanjay Gupta was saying that in developing minds, it can have some adverse impact.
If somebody wants to
Yuri at learningforgiveness.com, John at learningforgiveness.com. You can reach us there. We also have our learningforgiveness.com, and on there is an assessment, a forgiveness assessment. So
Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah,
also.
Facebook and Instagram, all of our social outlets. Yeah. Absolutely.
How you spell your name, Yuri?
Yuri.
I figured that, but I thought it might be good.
Anyway, John and Yuri, I really appreciate y'all. We really appreciate Rize. Really appreciate y'all blessing the mic.
Thank you so much for having us.
Intellectual Radio. Hey, thank you very much. And we will support whatever you got going on. So let us know when those dates come up for your yogas and da-da-da. I'm at least come with a cameo. At least do a cameo. I might give it a bit right. 2 minutes right before it.
Beginners welcome.
Beginners welcome. All levels.
Beginners.
Anyway, thank you for listening to Rize on Intellectual Radio. I am Robert Leo Jr. with my girl
Benita Auset. Don't forget to check out Dana being Dana coming up next
on IntellectualRadio.com. Deuces.